Hello and welcome to UC Today. My name is David Dungay. Today I'm joined by Scott Goodwin from Netsapiens and Simon Howitt from inTEC Business. Welcome to the show, guys. How are you both?
Well, thank you, David. Good to see you again.
Yeah, David, all good for me. Thank you.
Fantastic. So today we're going to be talking about the M&A landscape and what the implications are for the channel space. We're seeing lots of activity going on. But before we get into that, should we do some introductions? Scott, do you want to kick us off? Tell us a little bit about yourself and Netsapiens.
Sure. So, Scott Goodwin, I hold a couple of hats at Netsapiens. The first one is I'm the managing director of their EMEA operations, where I run the P&L, but I also have oversight on all of our international strategy work outside of the United States. Netsapiens are a software as a service business providing unified communications platforms exclusively to service providers, of which we have just over 200 worldwide, and about 2.5 million end users now as well.
Wow. And Simon.
Morning. One of the founders of inTEC Group, which is a group of ICT businesses, focusing very much on the SME space and also a growing part of our business in education as well. So the inTEC proposition was always been to when we set out was always there to look at ways in which we can help businesses and organisations use technology to improve the way they work and get business benefits from that. We've grown through a series of acquisitions. We've made 12 to date, the last one being only last week. And that's given us some real impetus in terms of momentum, in terms of being able to grow the customer base and to take that thinking and those propositions out to them.
Wow, that's a lot of acquisitions. So let's get into our conversation today. Looking back over the last 18 months to 2 years, obviously we've gone through and still going through a global pandemic, but we have seen a lot of activity in the M&A space. Scott, should we start with you? What is your assessment of that M&A space over the last sort of 18 months, 2 years, and what are the primary drivers that you're seeing behind that?
Yeah, I mean, active would be the word I would use for it. A lot of activity. I think you're seeing it from two sides. At the vendor level, you're seeing consolidation, large players acquiring each other, be it, Ericsson buying Vonage. You've got RingCentral doing deals with Avayas and Mitels, Microsoft buying Metaswitch. Cisco latterly, some time ago now, buying Broadworks as well. So at a vendor layer, you've got consolidation that's happening, I think, driven by either people playing catch up on product portfolios or, some kind of accretive value that can happen. I think it helps them as well to take competition out of the market in terms of what that might do to harden pricing as well. But I think more interestingly is what's happening at the service provider layer community, where you're seeing significant roll-ups that are happening. You see, I'm sure Simon will talk extensively in terms of the acquisitions that he sees in his particular area, but a lot of activity. And now, whether that's driven by 30 years of, liberalization, and a lot of people that started business 30 years ago are now starting to want to take some chips off the table. So you might have an active sellers market, but you're also seeing lots of organizations with good management teams being backed by private equity, being able to access good finance, because these are great businesses to invest in, to get accretive value from. They produce good cash flows. And they're providing something that is of great need right now to end users. It's a perfect storm, really.
Simon, maybe you'd like to give us your take on that. Obviously, 12 acquisitions in the current business. What's the last 2 years been like from your perspective?
The last 2 years has been very active, probably more active than we were expecting, bearing in mind what we were going through. And I'll just pick up on a couple of points that Scott's made, which is yeah, we can obviously see at vendor level a lot of activity, and that helps drive things. But equally, there is a hell of a lot of activity in the space that we play in. And for a number of reasons, of which Scott's pitched up on. One is businesses that have been owned by guys, or they started it 25, 30 years ago, now looking to say, now is the right time to move on. Other businesses that we've looked at and bought, which are maybe a little bit younger but still fairly mature, and they're saying, no, we really want to see the benefits of becoming part of a group and growing again, and so on. So there's a number of different elements that are the main dynamics. As I say, I think we've been pleasantly surprised with the amount of activity that went on in the last 18 months. We bought 5 of those 12 have been bought within the last 18 months. And actually there was a 6 that was bought just before the start of the pandemic. So definitely that whole piece, which I think naturally is driving why people are looking to sell their businesses, why they're looking at merging into other things, whatever the major reasons are. So I'm trying to understand the key dynamics. And Scott, I think, picked up on one of the points towards the end of what he said is, from my perspective, and I think this is what's driving also the vendor bigger programs, but from my perspective, what we're clearly seeing is the case that many end users have actually thought through the whole concept of digital transformation in a far more dynamic way than providers have been able to supply to them. Now, let me just put it straight. I've heard very rarely, if ever at all, a customer talking about digital transformation, but what they talk about, what they need, that's what they're talking about. It's a case of saying, I'm here now, I want to move to over here. What's that process I've got to go through to be able to make sure I'm using technology or combining technology in the right ways to get the maximum benefit from things. Now, I think there's been a bigger move, and it's part of the key drivers to which led us in our strategy. There was a key drive from really understanding that that's how business owners, business managers were thinking and were approaching it. And I don't think that what we've gone through the last 18 months has slowed it down or speeded it up, to be honest. I think it's a natural case of, again, businesses seeing, I want to use technology and get an advantage from it. And how do I do that? What have I got to do to be able to make sure that happens? Now, it doesn't matter whether they're coming at it from the telecoms world and the changes that are going on there, or from the IT or technology world, IT and technology world, which is mainly gathered around MSPs and other providers. It's that same thing. The customer is thinking, I want to move forward. I want to do things differently. I know there are other things out there that can help me improve our efficiencies. I need people to help me. I need people to make that work. Now, the reality, I think, also therefore has come about that many providers have come to terms with that and are realizing, I need to be part of something else, or I need my business to be part of something else, because to transform what we're doing to become a wider based ICT business is too big a challenge, too big a risk, and not something they're prepared to do. I think that is the key driver in the part of the market we're playing in, is that the realization from providers that the world is changing and they've got to change, and the easiest way of changing is to actually be part of a bigger group. Some businesses take that as the opportunity for the owners to retire or semi-retire. Others, where people it might be a case of, no, I want to fit into what a bigger, wider group's doing and still have a role to sort of go again, do more for my customers, win more business, do more things, etc., etc. So I think they've been the big drivers that were happening before the pandemic. They definitely is what sustained activity during that time. And what we're now seeing is a real lift up again of the amount of opportunities that are coming across our desk on a weekly basis is huge. The biggest challenge we have now is making sure that we can give the time to analyse those opportunities to to make sure that we focus on the ones that sort of fit us best and fit where we're going. But there's still a lot of dynamics there. There's still a lot of momentum there. And there are a lot of businesses that are still asking themselves the question, where should we be going? And in most cases, or many cases, certainly the ones we talk to, they're actually doing some form of deal, whether it's a full deal, whether it's partial deal, whether it's them staying in the business or not. Those are the key issues that we find we get into conversations with on a regular basis.
Let's talk about the impacts of these roll-ups. Obviously, it's sort of a crunch time for a lot of businesses, as you say, Simon. How do I grow? Do I need to be part of something a bit bigger, something a bit broader, perhaps? Scott, in terms of these roll-ups, what is the wider sort of impact of these roll-ups from a channel perspective? What is that impact? What does it all mean?
Well, I think, as Simon was saying, is that these businesses are complicated businesses, but ultimately their business models are quite simple, actually, and one where if you can achieve economies of scale, it brings a great deal of benefit to your organisation, and the robustness of your particular offer. So I think consolidation at a service provider level, whether they're joining a kind of group, as Simon was suggesting, or they're being taken out completely, the customer bases themselves will be rolled up in a much more efficient operating model that can provide them with, access to far greater, probably technology advances as they start to be able to access some really robust technology solutions as well. And obviously the economic viability of them, as any of those accretive values can be passed through as being cost benefits to the end user. So, I think, as is always the case, what should happen from these things is that good competition, some of the fittest will survive. They will provide greater value to their end users, and they will grow accordingly by offering much more complete services and satisfying customer demand.
So Scott, from a channel opportunity perspective, consolidation at vendor level, at service provider level, etc. It can mean several different things. But do you see this as an opportunity, or do you see this as a diminishing opportunity because there's less choice?
For us personally, absolutely, we see it as a significant opportunity, because the way that our technology is structured is that we find that we can certainly help and benefit our service providers if they choose to go onto a roll-up. Our platform is one that can offer them the ability to roll up with the most ease. So the ability of our platform not only as a large scale, functionally rich UCaaS platform, it allows our service providers to be able to absorb acquisition targets with minimal amount of disruption, either to the end user level or to the operation teams, that can allow them then to bring this under centralized control, then look for the cross-sell and upsell opportunities, but more importantly, move on to the next one. I'm sure Simon will tell you these things aren't easy to do in practice, but when you acquire a business, what you are seeking to do is to bring those accretive values in as quickly as possible, and then start to get the benefits from that, and then kind of move on to the next one, really, and bring those benefits to the end users.
So Simon, in terms of platform winners, are we going to see clear platform winners, in amongst all of this consolidation? What's that going to look like?
I think, again, picking up on where Scott talked about, you're going to see the winners being the ones that do it right, the ones that are successful and have thought it through. You're not going to win just because you've decided the strategy you're going to take. It's how you do it that will differentiate. Again, I think pick up on a couple of points, and the key influential points for us is that clearly a major benefit of buying a number of businesses is that you've got the opportunity for economies of scale and to get the benefits of that. we regularly talk to people about what does synergy mean. And synergy in an M&A context can take on different meanings. Some people immediately think it's you're going to go in and cut costs. In many respects to us, we don't see that. We don't do that. Our synergies to us is how can you take the resources and services that are there and make them better, make them more valuable to the customer base, which therefore leads you into the ability to cross-sell and upsell to existing customers. That again means that probably the starting point for us is that when we do our due diligence, it's important for us to understand the nature of the customer relationships that already exist and that they need to be built on an element of trust, because that's what hopefully then leads us into being able to take other services in, getting that cross-sell and upsell. And then once you've got to that bit, so you can immediately start to see that buying a number of bases, a number of businesses, and putting them together into a group is suddenly giving you that opportunity to actually get more value and more spend from that customer than they would have historically been able to have, which is obviously a key benefit. The next key benefit then says is how do we organise the resource we've got from these companies that we acquire. And we've worked really hard in terms of being able to make sure that we've got a centralised approach to support, first line support, and we've got a very, very key drive on centralising delivery. Now, the benefits, particularly of delivery, means that we can have engineers all around the country diving in to do what's needed to be done from the group perspective, ensuring that we've got engineer utilisation, it's most proficient. Equally, it's the same thing with support. We can start to offer really proper, robust out of our support. We can do more things. We can really be proactive because we're not looking at lots of pockets of support teams. We're looking at one support team that might be working in different places, but one strategy, one approach to what that support process looks like. Those two things become really fundamental to us in terms of the ability to understand the customer and the ability to sort of look for the synergy benefits of doing more with the same amount of resource, not by making more money by cutting costs. As I say, that's the last thing that we ever would look at. I think what it therefore also means, and it's incumbent and again touched on by Scott, is the importance we place on integration and onboarding. What a key for anybody who's been involved around the M&A world in whatever sectors, not just our sector, will be able to show the case studies of the failed M&A activities because they've not integrated what they bought properly. They've not got the benefits of that, and therefore it all breaks down. Customers see things so much quicker than we think they do, and they sense that if that's going to happen. So they vote with their feet and go elsewhere. That's where I think you can look at the legacy of failed M&A because they just haven't put the effort in or the thought into integrating those businesses. We've got a complete integration approach. We've got a commercial director who's come in very much with the drive to pull together the integration program, and we have a 100-day plan for everybody we buy. We've got our head of people and culture comes in and really makes sure that all the resource, all the people feel very, very comfortable. So it doesn't just happen by chance. It doesn't happen by luck. We've learned from some of our early acquisitions as to how we can do this better, and I think we're constantly looking at ways to improve. But that having that clearly defined 100-day plan, not having it the day you've done the deal, but having it part of the process in the deal completing, having that is really, really valuable, and it's meant that we can very quickly get those businesses integrated, we get people working together, we can get that cross-sell opportunities really happening. And then you can look back a year down the line and thinking, you know what, we've seen some terrific growth that has come about by actually putting into practice what we said the whole strategy is, which is buying a base, keeping that base, developing it, doing more with it, and doing it in a more efficient manner. And those are the things that will continue. We will continue. We'll never sit on our laurels to feel we've cracked it. We'll constantly be looking at how can we do it better? How can we go to the next stage? What can we do to actually get even more value out of this? And the great thing is customers get huge benefit from it. the people, the staff at all levels in the business get huge reward from it in terms of really starting to feel that they're we have a saying in the business that has come about from and it came about from one of the staff surveys that we ran a year or so ago, and it was trying to get people in the business that have been acquired to articulate what does being part of inTEC mean to them. And they came up with a quote of saying, we're a big small company. And what that means is in our team we still have got that small hands-on friendly family type business approach, but we're part of a bigger group to draw the resources and do things and think things in a more in a bigger way. And again, long may that continue, because I think that again, the biggest judge of this always will be the end customer and the end user, and they'll make that judgment themselves, and that's when we'll know when we're really working, is when we see those more services being sold to more customers and customers staying with us.
Absolutely. So we're coming towards the end of the session today, but before we go, I want to get a bit of a forward-looking prediction, if you like, on the M&A landscape, this year and beyond. See, Simon, you said, you're seeing more and more deals, every day, or opportunities come across your desk. Do you start with Scott? What are your expectations for the rest of this year and into next year with regards to the M&A landscape, and how it might impact the market?
More of the same, David, would be what I would say is probably even a more accelerated framework. I think it's a massively fragmented market, service provision, particularly in the UK and in Europe. There are thousands of service providers that are out there. I think just everything that Simon just said there. The ones that have scale, the ones that can have good process, the ones that have the right kind of platforms that allow the abilities to be able to absorb companies and absorb customer bases, get centralized control, get the benefits that come with that, and start cross-selling and upselling journeys. Those are the ones that will be able to move at a faster pace. It becomes sort of self-fulfilling in some ways. Once you've created that greasy wheel, you are so much better at it than others at that point. That makes your access and attractiveness to get more capital, happen quicker and faster as well. And I think you'll see some people that will do that, and again, that then becomes a template for success moving forward for others to look at as well. So yeah, more of the same, I think, and also probably you'll still see further consolidation at a vendor level as well. But we might be through the maximum peak of that. But I think the service provider layer has got a long way to go yet.
So, Simon, is it more of the same for you as well, or an acceleration in activity? What are your thoughts on the future?
I think there's going to be at least as many, if not more, opportunities. I think that's going to lead us to become more selective about those that fit in and we want to see as being contributing to taking the group further forward. I think we've touched on all the reasons why that's going to happen, and I think it's just going to be more of that. The one other point that I would add in there is that clearly in our sector, a key dependence on being able to see that growth continuing and that momentum continuing is access to capital. And when you look at the investment world, whether it be PE or trade buyers or anything else, but the PE world, probably PE and debt world, is probably the key for us, is that they have got funds and they need to put those funds to work. And at the same time, this is a sector, possibly alongside pharmaceuticals, that they can see a future in. They can see it being businesses need communications tools. Businesses need IT. They're not just nice things to have. Getting them to a highest level is imperative in the life of any business, small, medium, or large. So you definitely have got in the investment world, you've got people that are wanting to fund, wanting to back, which is obviously a key dependence on being able to then say, yeah, we can do deals, we can look at deals, we can negotiate them. So yeah, I can see from the seller's point of view, there's going to be a lot of people looking at when is now the right time? Is the next 12 months the right time? Who should we start talking to? What type of deal do we want to do? So I can still see more and more activity going in that. And as I say, I can definitely see the appetite from the capital market and being able to want to support it because of the sectors we're in.
Great. Well, look, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for. Simon, Scott, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your insights.
Brilliant. No problems,
Thank
Dave.
you.
Good to see you. Thank you, Simon.
Yeah,
Take
good
care.
to see you, Dave. Yeah, and to you, Scott. Thank you.
And thank you for watching. You've been watching me, David Dungay, on UC Today. If you like today's conversation, please give us a like and a share on social media. That's it from me. I'll see you next time.